Hello, it's Debbie Gilbert here from the Best Businesswomen Awards, and today I am joined by Kerrie and Maddy from TOTFest Festivals, who have won multiple awards this year, which they're going to talk a bit about later on. We're going to hear all about their business journey, their partnership together, and they're going to be sharing some great tips today in this episode. So welcome, ladies.
Thank you. Very excited to be here.
So first of all, because I've got two of you on the call today. So Maddy, let's talk to you about the partnership and how you and Kerrie met.
Yes, of course. So we met probably about 10 years ago at work at our previous employment. We both met there. Sorry. So we met 10 years ago at our previous employment. We started the business. TOTFest is now in its 6th year next year. We started the business. We were both on mat leave. I was with my second child. Kerrie was with her first child. And we both saw a gap in the market for the toddlers, for children the toddlers who are not yet walking, what we can do at the weekend. There's a plethora of opportunity and activities to take your children through the week. But when you get to the weekend, there isn't really a lot to do. And we started the business off doing smaller events at the weekend. We saw success in that and we were in demand. So we both decided, let's do a festival. Why not? The opportunity is there, the demand's there. And we started 6 years ago now with TOTFest.
So how does the actual event work? Because I'm intrigued to know, because my kids are like 30 and 22 now, so nothing like this was around then. So how does it work? So the parents come along with their children. What would they expect to find when they come to one of your events?
So basically anything and everything you can ever imagine for children under 5. So the event is an entirely immersive, creative, sensory space. Catering for children from 6 months old right up until 5 years and beyond. We still get families that bring children that are 6, 7, 8 that still absolutely love it. Our daughters, who are the same age, are now 7, and they still ask us every single year, "Mummy, can we go to TOTFest?" So we do find it goes all the way up to 7 and 8 and beyond. But it is a mix of stage shows, toddler-friendly fairground rides, inflatables, sensory shows, reading spaces, lots of physical activities, so working on fine and gross motor skills, and we welcome lots of different businesses that specialise in children under 5 into the festival, and they kind of showcase what they can do. So essentially everything you can imagine, things like baby raves, all sorts, absolutely all sorts.
It sounds fantastic. So what's the challenges been working together? Because obviously you were work pals, you got together. What sort of challenges have you come across as a partnership now?
Oh, probably a lot. I think we're both strong, independent, successful women, in our own rights, and we both had extensive careers before we sort of came and took this leap. And I think a partnership is incredible, and it's incredible because when as an entrepreneur, it's a very lonely business, it's a very challenging business, and it's having somebody else that's there, that's sitting alongside you, pulls you out of that ditch, when you're not really sure where to go next, or you've got a creative challenge or a business challenge and you're not sure how to progress. You've got somebody there as a sounding board. But the challenges comes when actually one person has a particularly strong opinion on a particular area of the business and the other person doesn't agree. And that happens less often now. Maddy and I have been working together for 7 years, just the two of us consistently every day, and we've learned how each other works. We've learned where our strengths are, and we've learned how to kind of trust each other in certain elements of the business, to give each other that kind of space. But it can be difficult, and it's difficult when you've got two strong women. You've got hormones, you've got emotions, you've got all of those things, and also everyday life. There's lots of other things that go on, behind the scenes, and we're friends first as well. So we still spend time together as families. We come together, So it is hard to kind of find that professional balance, but also keep the friendship. But I think, honestly, trial and error, and being honest and open with each other. And also, one thing that I've learned is you just have to talk it through and let it go. You know, when we do have disagreements or we don't necessarily agree on a particular thing within the business, that's fine. We're two different people. We're not always going to agree. So I think being able to talk it through, being honest about how each other feels, and then parking it and then just moving on has been probably a game changer for us in the last few years.
So Maddy, do you have defined roles within the business? Do you have certain things you do and certain things Kerrie does? Is that how you do it?
Yeah, our roles have definitely evolved. I think at the start we were very much kind of fusing, trying to work out what our strengths are, what we could both own. And now over the years we definitely have found where our strengths are and how best it works for and benefits the business as a whole. Kerrie's very much marketing, the front end. I don't generally do a lot on social media and things like this, so this kind of thing is new for me. I don't do a lot, whereas I'm more back office and operations, and that's something that we've naturally transitioned into. It's definitely something, as we've identified, that we probably need to now define more prescriptively in like a document and things like that, which we are evolving as we go. But it's definitely, we've transitioned and have now found our spaces that work, that really benefit the business, so that we can, you know, push the business forward. Yeah,
that's great. So how many TOTFests are you doing a year at the moment?
So for next year we've got 5 TOTFests. We have progressed. We started with one in Hitchin, then we grew to 2 to 3, and now we're at 5 next year. We aim to try and spread as far across the country as we can. We are a pop-up and pop-down festival, essentially, for a number of different reasons. So we generally build the day before, we have the event, and then that night we leave site as it was perfect before we'd even been there. So we're quite unlike other festivals where they have a couple of weeks build. We don't do that for a multitude of different reasons. So because of that, we're quite restricted in terms of where we can go to. We've got demand of people that want us in Scotland and down in Cornwall. We're both Hertfordshire based, so it's also trying to manage that with our work-life balance and families, as well as trying to meet the needs, which is why we've now we both got to 4 and we went no more, and then we like, actually we can do one more, we'll do 5. So now 5 is our maximum. 5 is the limit. We can focus on that.
Do you do them over quite a concentrated period, or are they spread out throughout the year? Because I guess you need decent weather, or you try and do them when the weather's decent.
Yeah, so we start the tour in May, late May in Yorkshire, and next year we end the tour in Cheshire, basically 2 months later. So it's every couple of weeks we are doing an event. So it's quite intense. It's an intense period of time, especially because the weather's lovely. We want to do things with our own families and things like that, but it's the most amazing tour and journey that we have. It's brilliant. So,
and how do you let's ask you this, Kerrie, how do you go about sourcing where your venues are going to be? Like, do you look for fields that farmers own, that sort of thing, or
honestly, the venues is probably the hardest thing of the whole business, is sourcing the right venue, because not only do we need to find a venue that works, it needs to have good transport links, it needs to be close to lots of major towns and cities so that we're pulling a good demographic. It needs to not be too close to another venue that we already have, but also, and probably most importantly, you know, our audience is children under 5, it's babies, toddlers. It needs to be a safe, welcoming environment that parents with very young children can come and feel comfortable and really just relax. So because of that, we've started almost by accident, I suppose, using race courses. So what we found was a race course was the perfect blend of green space, but also fixed buildings, working toilets, electricity, solid, car parks, tarmacs, car parking, with, big wide bays for people to get their buggies and their prams out and their babies out. And that has been fantastic, because it still gives that kind of festival feeling, but you're protected from the elements and the weather and everything else that kind of goes with being just in a field. And also, as Maddy mentioned earlier, because of our model, we rig and de-rig within essentially a 48-hour period. That allows us to keep the costs as low as possible, which then allows us to sell our tickets at a really, really good price, a good value price for a family. And because of that, having the infrastructure that's at a racecourse allows us to be able to just go in and pop up and then break back down again in a really short period of time.
That's
so
great.
it's been trial and error, and although there are lots of racecourses all over the country, not all of them have the right mix of green space, the right amount of car parking. So we've been to some venues that we haven't continued with. We're still finding venues. We're looking for the right areas. And then our original location, which is Hertfordshire, which is where we're both based, that's the one that's been going the longest. And that's actually at a showground. So it's just a greenfield site. And that one is really tough because it doesn't have that support structure and that infrastructure. But it's our most popular venue, and it's our home. So it was kind of a compromise that we've sort of had to do each year, and we love it there. But it's a very, very difficult one to
Is
manage.
that the one in Redbourne? Is that the Hertfordshire
Yeah,
showground?
the county showground.
It's where I'm born and bred. I was born and bred in Hemel Hempstead.
It's a hard site because it's really open to the elements. You know, you get rain and wind, and so we have to put put everything into that site, from toilets to power to water to tents. There's nothing there, so that's a really big build. So we wouldn't be able to do that like week in, week out like the others.
Yeah, venues always tricky, but it sounds like you've cracked it, ladies, because some award wins already under your belt. So let's talk a bit about awards. What put them on your radar, and what have you been winning so far? Do you want to start off, Maddy?
Yeah, so we've been applying for awards now for a couple of years. We both feel that as the business has grown, the awards really ground us with our customers and our attendees, because they can look at the award and see the significance and the recognition that the business is getting from outside peers, which is really important for us. The other aspect to it is that we are, as the business is growing, we are finding that it's good to have the awards to really show other businesses and brands where we might evolve the business with other brands, that they can see that the business is established, the business is successful. And so for us, it's also just, it's an opportunity to meet other businesses in the area, in our sector, as well as other sectors as well. And it raises our profile that way.
Definitely. Yeah. So Kerrie, what awards have you won so far?
So this year, as Maddy said, we felt that we were at a place in the business. It was a really good opportunity to kind of go out and almost put ourselves out there to kind of hopefully get that recognition back. And just to add to what Maddy said, the sort of one of the big things, because we pop up in different locations, obviously we have an audience. We're expecting an attendance of 5,000 people at an event, but they've never seen TOTFest before in Cheshire, for example. It's brand new to them. So how do we make it credible and notable, and that a customer can look at it and go, yeah, do you know what, my money will be safe in their hands, and the event is what it says it's going to be. So the events are great, the awards are great for that. We have just recently won gold in the SME Hertfordshire Awards, and we won Creative and Entertainment Organisation of the Year, which we were absolutely thrilled with. We also won earlier in the year the Cool Event Award, which has just got a great name. Again, we won gold in that for the best event under a 50k budget, a daily budget. And obviously we put in for the Best Businesswomen Awards, and that was kind of almost the pinnacle for us in terms of, the one that we really felt proud to even be shortlisted, and obviously be able to come and attend the event and everything, because ultimately, we started this business as two mums with no running a business entrepreneurial experience whatsoever. So to be in that room with all of those women, it was so powerful and so inspiring, and it really did feel like, actually, do you know what, we feel like we've got that recognition that we were hoping to kind of
get have arrived. That's
and we've slogged away in this business, just the two of us, for 5 or 6 years to get into that point. So it really felt like, actually, it was that tipping point for us to go, do you know what, we are we are credible. We're a credible business. We're established. You know, we're successful, and it's hard when you're entrepreneurs, and I'm sure everyone listening can relate. You know, to actually put, you know, bench that imposter syndrome and said, you know what, we are, you know, we're a fully fledged business. People value it and the service that we offer. So yeah, it was definitely a good moment being there.
So I guess for COVID period, you couldn't run the events. Did you have to stop for a year or something? How did they negotiate that, Maddy?
Yes, COVID was quite a roller coaster. So we launch our events in the August or September, I think, that year, before the September before the event. So we had already sold our tickets, or a good portion of our tickets, and were in March is when we start to really ramp up in terms of ticket sales and things like that. And by that point, everything is already booked on site. We've got all of our performers, the stages, the infrastructure, everything's already there. So then March hit and it was everything's shut down, 2 weeks, and then it kept getting longer. So it was a really hard time. It was first, okay, it's just 2 weeks. So we were like, well, maybe in May it'll be fine. And then we kind of thought, actually, this isn't fine. We'll put it back. I think we put it back to maybe July, August time. Maybe it will be fine then. No, it's still not fine. And at which point we then said, right, we just need to push it a full year. We pushed it back, and we pushed it back until, I think we did it till the following year.
It was the same. It was literally a year later, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. We'll just push it back a year. And then I think as the restrictions started lifting and they had the actual plan put in place, it was it a June date? That was
25th of June.
Oh, there we go. There we know.
Everything was going to go back to normal on the 25th of June.
So at which point, so we then pushed from May of that year, 2021. We pushed it to the August. We had 3 events, and trying to navigate all of the infrastructure, the performers, the venues availability, and making sure that we are booking it in enough time such that if anything happens or things, it's also our customers are getting used to coming out again in big crowds and things like that. It was a really big deal. So we ended up having, in the summer holidays, because our children were off on summer, we had 3 weekends back to back that we did the events. We went Wetherby, Newmarket and Hertfordshire, and it was hard work on our behalf, as well as managing the children in the 6 weeks holidays. It was a really hard one in terms of the COVID aspect and just making sure that we were COVID safe, which we were. The venues were brilliant in their support with that. And then it was also just making sure that our customers they have an enjoyable experience, because we were also anxious coming out of COVID and mixing again and things like that. Fortunately, we're an predominantly outdoor event. So we had things like masks and things indoors or recommended and things like that. But because we are an outdoor event, we navigated it quite well, but it was extremely hard. For it just to go all cancelled, but there we go.
And I think as well, it was really, really overwhelming, the kind of support that we got from our customers, because obviously from our perspective, and we're not unique in this, it happened to everybody, but our whole industry stopped for 18 months. You couldn't physically bring people together, so we had no income whatsoever, and we had to rely on our customers that had bought those tickets previously, trusting in us and just carrying them over to the following year. And such a large portion of them did it. And without that, if they'd have gone, actually, do you know what? No, I want my money back. I don't want to come. The business would never have been able to survive, because we'd already committed financially to such a large portion of the events, like Maddy said. So we were really overwhelmed by the level of support that we got from our customers and the loyalty that they kind of showed us as we moved and navigated. And I mean, I think there was about 4 postponements in the end. So it was
our ticket provider said Hertfordshire TOTFest was the most postponed event they've ever had. I was like, well, there we go. But we did it. That's the main thing.
Yeah, we did it. There was lots of tears.
I was in the same boat. I own a marketing and events agency. We do the expos, business expos. We were in the same boat, because our expo was actually the very first day of lockdown. So, we sold stands. We had obviously produced the brochure. We had spent money on advertising. We'd got 500 people registered to come. Oh my God. And we changed it like you several times that year. And in the end, after a meeting with my accountant, I refunded all of the stands, all of the sponsorship, because it was sitting on my balance sheet and I didn't know when we would be able to do it again. So we didn't come back until last year, actually. That's,
gosh.
Yeah. So I think, you know, people who are not in events don't realise just how tough it was for us during that period and how little money we made, if we made any at all. No. And how stressful every day was, because you watch the news hoping for some kind of direction and kind of, you know, good news from the government. And of course, behind the scenes, they were partying on down, didn't really care anyway. We should have got them involved.
Should have got them. We should have done their events.
I know, that was horrendous. I watched that dramatisation a few weeks ago and I was seething. But yeah, I mean, we just didn't get that support, and I think the events industry really was, and hospitality generally, we were the ones that predominantly suffered the most, really.
Yeah,
and it takes time to recover.
Yeah, we found, so 2021 we did the 3 festivals back to back, 3 weekends in a row. It nearly killed us off, but we just about survived it. And even going into 2022, you know, it's still, people were still not committing to things because they'd lost out. They had credits in everywhere with events that had been cancelled or holidays, and so people weren't committing to things because they weren't sure what was going to happen. And it was only really this year that we saw actually the behaviour of customers had just relaxed back into how it was previously. And so it was, even though we ran for 2021 and 22, it wasn't normal by any stretch. It wasn't seen previous to that, and it's taken years to get back to that kind of normal mentality that actually, you know, if I book something 6 months in advance, I'll probably get to go to it, which obviously for a long period you wouldn't do that, would you? You just wouldn't book it.
So what's the plans next year for TOTFest? What have you got? You've got your 5 festivals next year. We'll make sure those details are in the show notes, and also on the YouTube channel we'll put the links in. So you got your, and then what is the bigger picture for you two? Because obviously your children are quite small at the moment still. So where would you like to see TOTFest in, say, 5 years' time, or even 10 years?
So this is the magic question.
That's a good question.
So it's honestly, up until probably the beginning of this year, this business was a true passion project. It was created because we felt so strongly and so passionately about giving families a space to be able to be together. As Maddy said at the beginning, born from our own kind of frustrations around, you know, I've got an 18-month-old and a husband, and it's Saturday, and where am I going to go? You know, you can go to a playground or soft play and get wiped out by the older kids, but what is there for them to kind of do, and really for you all to kind of spend time together? And so up until this year, it was very much the focus was, and still is to an extent, how can we reach more families? How can we, because until you come and you experience it, and lots of our customers will you know, share it on social media, but it's magical. It really is. Seeing a little toddler walk in and their face just light up, because everything that is in that festival is for them. Everything is safe for them. They can walk up to anything and get involved. Whereas in lots of events and lots of, you know, days out and theme parks and things, they're an afterthought. They're usually free or subsidised because actually it's not catering for them. And the parents just relax into it, and it's just amazing and magical. So we wanted to spread that as far as we could. And each year we've added, as Maddy said, another festival and another to reach more of the country. And we've sort of settled on 5. And at the beginning of this year, we sort of said, right, okay, you know, we're planning to welcome 25,000 people through the gates next year. The kind of following and the demand on social media is growing. We need to start to think about this more strategically and more as a business, and less of as a passion and just a, you know, wanting to service people. We need to kind of think more strategically and more long term. So we started to talk about, well, what does 5 years look like, and what does 10 years? We know, where are we? And at the moment we're still trying to work that out. We know that we want to get it. We want to see as many people as we can. We want the tour to reach as many families. And that probably now is going to be about increasing capacities in the venues we've already got and working with them to really build those venues into really iconic kind of core events that people, you know, around the locations know are going to happen each year. And they bring their children at 1 year, at 2 years, at 3 years, all the way through to 5, and they
Mm.
kind of come with us on that journey. It's also about starting to think more sponsorship,
Mm.
working alongside children's brands, to kind of enhance the TOTFest experience for customers, but also to start to think a bit more strategically as a business. And then past that or beyond that, in terms of what happens next, we're not sure. We're not sure whether it becomes a model that we move around the country in a different way, maybe a licensed way, or whether it's something that we build up to a point that we have a team, you know, underneath us, you know, that is just Maddy and I at the moment. So at the moment, it's all to play for. We know all our kind of driving force is knowing that we want to stick to our core values and purpose that we started this business in the first place. And that is to make sure that every one of those people that walks through the door has that magical experience and wants to come back year after year. And we want to reach as many families as we can.
So have you considered franchising as a potential model for expansion?
We have, yeah, and it's something that we still potentially will explore in the future as the business grows. And obviously, as I say, there's just the two of us, so it's an option to be able to service more families. There's lots of other things that kind of caveat that, so we don't know the answer to that at the moment. But it's something that potentially we may look at down, you know, 5-10 years down the line.
Exciting. Well, you two ladies are very inspirational, and obviously you're 6 years into your journey now. So maybe if I could have one little tip from both of you, if someone's listening to this and they're setting up their business, what's kept you going, Maddy? What's your little tip?
My tip, or the thing I always think, why I go back to, why did we start this business? Why did we think that this was the right thing to do? And why? That is the thing that really drives me forward. That's the thing that makes me excited in the morning to really focus on, is always thinking about that beginning moment, because that's the start of the business and that's the start of this amazing journey that we've already been on. Because sometimes you can get so carried away with everything else going on, and also where you are in the business and all the worries, but what you need to sometimes just think is, why did I do this? Why did I start this journey? Because that's all that you really need. Because when you think about that, that will then focus, and that's how we focus going forward.
That's really good advice. What about you, Kerrie? Have you got anything you want to share?
I would say trust your gut. And it sounds cliche, but I think
it's true.
I think we have dabbled in lots of different things. We've TOTFest is our core business, but previous to that, we ran, as Maddy said, lots of smaller events in like local communities. We've done ladies, we've done all sorts. And genuinely, every time something felt really natural and really right, it worked. Every time something felt a bit left field and not necessarily along that kind of core ethos, it didn't. And actually, by just trusting your gut in the first instance has got us to where we are. And when we're looking at new acts or activities or a new angle for TOTFest, we look at it and go, well, what does your gut say? You know, I'm a mum to a 2-year-old. Would I appreciate that as a festival? Would I, you know, would that make me happy, or would that be something that I wouldn't want to do? And actually, we both do that a lot, and just remember that actually we're the customer. So if it's something that we would enjoy, or it would make our lives easier, then it's probably likely to make all of our customers' lives easier as well.
You know what comes across from both of you is you're very customer centric, and that's really key in business, and that leads to longevity in business, because those people that care about their customers deeply, and I can tell you do, that is so important to you. I know this business is going to go from strength to strength. So
Thank
well
you.
done to both of you. I wish you continued success with TOTFest, because it sounds amazing. And, you know, maybe I'll drag my 30-year-old along to pretend that he's
borrow someone's child.
I need to. I maybe I shall have a grandchild one day.
Well, there you are.
Who knows? Anyway, thanks, ladies, and I look forward to following your journey.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks.